Welcome back, everybody. Today we're taking a deep dive into Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
It's kind of taken the self-improvement world by storm.
It really has.
Now we're going to be dissecting the science behind it all. Those small changes that add up to big results over time. So get ready to unlock the secrets to habit formation.
That's what we're here for.
Learn how to ditch those bad habits.
The ones we all have.
And discover those practical strategies for making lasting change.
Love it.
Okay, let's unpack this.
So this idea of compounding, I find it really fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like how money multiplies with compound interest.
Right.
The effects of your habits, they kind of multiply too as you keep repeating them over time.
Makes sense.
And Clear uses this analogy of a plane taking off.
Okay.
Where just a tiny shift in direction at the beginning of the flight, like it ends up making a huge difference in where you end up.
Yeah, like you could end up in a totally different country.
Exactly. And it's like a powerful reminder that these small little actions,
The ones we think don't matter.
yeah, that we don't even think about,
Yeah.
can have a huge impact.
On the whole trajectory of our lives.
Totally.
It really makes you think about those everyday choices, like
Yeah.
brushing your teeth
Or hitting the snooze button.
Exactly.
All these little things add up.
So speaking of those small changes that can lead to big things,
Okay.
Clear's story about recovering from his baseball injury, it's pretty inspiring.
Oh, yeah, that's a great story.
Like, he didn't try to get back all of his abilities at once.
Smart.
He broke it down into tiny steps,
Manageable.
focusing on those 1% improvements each day,
1%.
which is kind of where this idea of systems comes in.
Yeah, systems over goals.
Clear argues that just focusing on the goal itself can be kind of a problem,
It can be.
because goals are great for, setting the direction,
Sure.
but they can also create a ton of pressure.
Yeah, that all or nothing
And
feeling.
what if you don't reach the goal right?
Right.
It's easy to feel like a failure.
It is, and we don't want that.
We don't.
Right.
So what if instead of just focusing on that end destination,
Okay.
we shift our attention to building those systems that are going to get us there?
I love that because systems, those are the daily routines.
The habits.
Yeah, the things you actually do consistently,
Yeah.
and they move us closer to our outcomes.
It's like the journey, not just the destination.
That's a great way to put it, and it raises the question, how do we actually build those effective systems?
Oh, good question.
Well, Clear introduces these 4 laws of behavior change.
Okay, let's hear it.
They're like a framework for how habits work.
Yeah.
And it gives you practical strategies to make those habits stick.
I'm ready.
All right, the first law is make it obvious.
Interesting.
It's all about becoming more aware of the things that trigger our habits.
The cues.
Yeah, the cues. And Clear uses this example of Japanese railway conductors.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about this.
They use this pointing and calling system to reduce errors.
They literally point at and call out each signal.
I know, even though it's like a routine for them,
Yeah.
they make it super obvious so they don't mess up.
So by making those cues obvious,
Super obvious.
they reduce those chances of mistakes.
Right. Our brains are wired to look for cues.
Like it's how we survive.
Totally imagine our ancestors trying to find food.
Okay. Yeah.
They needed those environmental cues like seeing ripe berries.
The sound of a river.
Exactly. That's how they knew what to do.
So we can use that same wiring to our advantage
We can.
by designing our environment.
Exactly. Make those cues really stand out.
I like that.
So Clear suggests this thing called a habit scorecard.
Scorecard.
Yeah, it's like a personal inventory of your habits
Okay.
and what triggers them. So think about the first hour of your day.
Okay.
What do you do automatically?
Coffee.
Right. And what triggers that?
The smell of coffee.
Exactly. And are those cues helping you or hurting you?
That's a good question.
It's like being a detective of your own behavior.
That's a cool way to think about it.
Once you know the cues, you can start to change them.
To help us reach our goals.
Exactly. If you want a good habit, make the cue obvious.
Okay.
If you want to break a bad habit, make the cue less obvious.
Hide the cookies.
Exactly. You're designing your environment to support your change.
I like it.
Like if you want to meditate every day, put your meditation cushion right there in the living room.
Where you can't miss it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or if you're always on social media,
Delete the apps.
you got it. By changing those cues, you're taking back control.
All right, so we made the cue obvious. What's next?
So the second law is about making it attractive.
Okay.
And this is where dopamine comes in.
Oh, dopamine, the reward chemical.
That's the one our brains crave rewards.
It's why those notifications on our phones are so addictive.
You got it. Dopamine surges when we get a reward,
Right.
But it also surges when we just anticipate a reward.
Oh, so just knowing a reward might be coming.
That's why those cues are so powerful. They trigger those cravings.
So like even just seeing my phone light up makes me want to check it.
Exactly. You anticipate that social connection or some news.
Even if it's just junk.
Right. So if we want to build good habits,
we need to make them appealing to our brains.
Precisely. One way is to pair the habit with something you already enjoy.
Like listening to music while you work out.
That's a great example. You link an activity you want to do with one you need to do.
My brain would never know the difference.
Right. And Claire also talks about social norms.
Oh yeah, like peer pressure.
It's not always a bad thing. We gravitate towards what's accepted in our groups.
So if everyone's doing it, it must be good.
Right. He uses the example of the Polgar sisters.
Who are they?
They were raised to be chess prodigies. Their dad made chess the norm.
Wow.
They were surrounded by it, played constantly rewarded for it.
So it's like if you want to build a new habit,
find a group who's already doing it.
like a running club or something.
Exactly. You get that support and motivation from being around them.
Okay, so we've made the cue obvious and we've made it attractive.
We're on a roll.
What's next?
Okay, so the third law, this one is about making it easy.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, Clear says that anything that makes a behavior harder,
like friction.
Friction, exactly. It makes us less likely to do it.
So the more effort it takes, the less we want to do it.
That's why we have the 2-minute rule.
2 minutes.
Any new habit should take less than 2 minutes to do.
Seems a little simple.
It is, but by making it super easy to start, you're more likely to do it.
Like instead of a 30-minute workout, just do 2 minutes of stretching.
You got to just focus on that easy first step.
And once you start, you're more likely to keep going.
Well, begun is half done right.
Right. And it's not just about the first step.
No, Clear talks about making our environment help us too.
Like, what do you mean?
He uses the example of resetting a room after watching TV, put the remote away,
Oh, okay.
arrange the pillows, fold the blanket.
So it's ready for next time?
Exactly. You're priming the environment for that good habit.
Like setting yourself up for success.
Totally. And it works for bad habits too.
How?
If you want to watch less TV, make it harder. Unplug it,
Hide the remote.
move it to another room.
You're adding friction, making those bad behaviors less likely.
Oh, I get it.
It's like a tug-of-war between those good and bad habits.
We got to give the good ones an advantage.
Exactly. All right, so we have the cue, the craving, we made it easy, what's left?
The grand finale.
You got it. The fourth law is all about making it satisfying.
Okay.
Our brains, they want instant gratification.
Like that marshmallow experiment.
Yeah, kids who could wait for 2 marshmallows.
They were more successful later in life.
But yeah, sometimes that instant reward is tough to resist.
It really is.
So we got to bridge the gap between the instant and the delayed reward.
How do we do that?
Claire says add some instant gratification to the good habits.
So, like, if I want to exercise more.
Find a way to make it enjoyable.
Like listening to music.
Exactly. Or reward yourself with a healthy smoothie afterward.
Oh, I could get behind that.
It's all about making those tough things more appealing.
I like it. Make your brain think it's having fun. Exactly. And on the flip side, we make bad habits less satisfying.
Okay.
If you're trying to cut back on social media.
Log out after each use.
That's one way.
Right.
Or use an app blocker or delete the apps altogether.
Wow, cold turkey.
The idea is to make those bad behaviors less appealing in the moment.
Less tempting.
Exactly. So we've covered the 4 laws, make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying.
Those are good.
But James Clear doesn't stop there.
There's more.
Oh yeah, he dives into even more advanced tactics for the real habit masters.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about those.
Me too. But let's save those for the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good. I'm ready to level up my habit game.
We'll get you there. Welcome back to our deep dive into atomic habits. Before the break, we were talking about how to make habits more satisfying, using things like reinforcement and habit tracking, especially when those long-term rewards aren't super obvious.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about how we can use that same reward system that can sometimes lead us to those bad habits.
Right. It's all about figuring out how it works and then using it to our advantage.
So it's like staying up late, binge watching a show. It feels great now.
Yeah, but then
you're exhausted the next day.
Exactly. And it seems like so many of our bad habits are kind of like that.
Enjoyable in the moment, but then...
But there's a price to pay.
So how do we escape that cycle? Is it all about willpower?
Well, Clear actually says willpower isn't the best way to break a bad habit.
Really?
Yeah, instead he says it's about making those bad habits less satisfying.
So instead of trying to resist them with willpower, we make them less appealing.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
One of the best ways to do that is to increase the friction.
Friction.
Yeah, like make it harder to do the bad habit, make it inconvenient.
So, like, if I'm trying to eat less junk food...
Don't even keep it in the
Oh,
house.
get rid of the temptation
Well,
completely.
exactly. Most of us try to just moderate those bad habits.
Instead of getting rid of the thing that triggers them.
Yeah, we set ourselves up for failure that way.
It's like trying to resist a fire while you keep adding logs to it.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
It's a losing battle.
But getting rid of those triggers completely, it feels extreme.
It can, but remember, it's not about deprivation.
Okay.
It's about making an environment that helps you reach your goals.
So you're not saying never to those things.
Right. You're just making them less accessible.
Less tempting.
Exactly. So you're not fighting those urges all the time.
That makes sense. And speaking of urges,
Oh, yeah.
Clear talks about changing how we think about bad habits.
The mindset stuff.
Right. So it's not just our environment.
No, it's our internal world, too.
Our thoughts.
Exactly. Like instead of saying, I can't eat that, I don't eat that.
Subtle difference.
But it emphasizes that you're a healthy person.
It's part of your identity.
Right. Not someone who's always denying themselves.
I like that.
It's about aligning your thoughts with your actions.
Makes sense.
Because our thoughts, they drive our actions.
So if you believe you're healthy, you'll make healthy choices.
Exactly. But if you think you have weak willpower,
you're more likely to give in.
So we got to cultivate the beliefs that support our good habits.
Okay, so we make bad habits unsatisfying by increasing friction, removing cues, and reframing our thoughts.
That's a good summary.
But what about those really ingrained habits that are super hard to break?
Oh, yeah. The ones that feel like they're part of us.
Exactly. Can those even be changed?
Well, even those can be changed. And that's where technology comes in.
Technology.
Yeah. Clear suggests using it to automate those good habits.
I like the sound of that.
And to make bad habits less practical.
So it's like outsourcing your willpower to an app.
Exactly. You can set up automatic bill pay so you never miss a deadline.
That's a good one.
Or use a website blocker to limit your time on social media.
Oh, yeah, I need one of those.
You can even get your groceries delivered.
So you don't make impulse purchases at the store.
You got it. It's all about making good habits easier and bad habits harder.
So it's like having a little assistant always working in the background.
I like that analogy. And it frees up our minds to focus on other things.
The important stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So we've covered a lot about building good habits and breaking bad ones.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. But there's another piece to this puzzle.
What's that?
Our environment. It plays a huge role.
Oh, yeah. Our surroundings.
Clear emphasizes this a lot. He uses this equation, BFPE.
What's that?
It means behavior is a function of the person in their environment.
So even if we have the best intentions, if our environment's working against us,
yes,
it's going to be tough.
We're going to struggle.
Exactly. Our surroundings, they shape our actions in ways we don't even realize.
Like how so?
Think about it. If you want to read more, but you don't have any books around.
You're not going to read.
Right. But if there are books everywhere...
It's easier to pick one up.
Exactly. You're constantly reminded of your goal.
Makes sense.
And it's not just physical things, it's the social norms, too.
Oh, yeah, like the monkey see, monkey do thing.
We copy the people around us, so if you want to get in shape...
But your friends are couch potatoes?
It's going to be harder.
Way harder.
But if you're surrounded by active people, those habits can rub off on you.
Exactly. So we got to be mindful of who we spend time with.
And the places we go.
Because your environment can either help you or hurt you.
Powerful stuff. Okay, so we talked about environment, the 4 laws.
We've covered a lot.
But is there like a secret ingredient to all this?
Yeah.
Something that can really accelerate our progress?
Well, there's no magic bullet.
Okay.
But knowing your strengths and weaknesses can really help.
Oh, like playing a game where the odds are in your favor.
Exactly. We're all different, and choosing habits that align with our abilities.
It increases our chances of success.
Big time. We're more likely to stick with things that energize us.
Not things that drain us.
Right. So if you're a social butterfly...
joining a team sport would be better than working out alone.
Exactly. It's about finding activities that feel natural to you.
Like an extension of who you are.
And Clear says, genes don't determine your destiny. They determine your areas of opportunity.
So we can use our predispositions to our advantage.
Exactly. Align your ambitions with your abilities.
That's good advice.
And if you can't find a game that favors you...
create one.
Exactly. Take control. Create opportunities that work for you.
I love that.
It might take some experimenting, stepping outside your comfort zone.
But it's worth it.
It is. It's about finding those things that really light you up.
It's not just doing the right things. It's about doing the right things for you.
That's a great way to put it. Finding that sweet spot where your passions, your talents, and your efforts all come together.
And to do that,
we need self-awareness.
It's about understanding ourselves.
Our strengths, weaknesses, values, motivations.
So we can make choices about the habits we want and the life we want.
Exactly. That's where reflection comes, and journaling can be really helpful.
To check in with ourselves, see how we're doing.
Exactly. Identify those areas where we can improve.
We become more aware of our habits.
And more intentional about how we shape our lives.
So we're like the architects of our own lives.
That's a great way to think about it, designing a blueprint for who we want to be.
But building that dream life, one habit at a time.
It takes patience.
And self-compassion.
There will be bumps in the road.
There will.
We have to be kind to ourselves when we mess up. Learn from our mistakes and keep going.
Even those small wins.
Celebrate them. They keep you motivated.
So it's not about perfection.
No, it's about persistence.
Showing up every day.
Even when it's hard, even when you don't see results right away.
Because those small actions, they add up over time.
Exactly. They're what lead to those big transformations.
Speaking of those small actions leading to big changes, let's talk about those advanced tactics for habit mastery.
Yeah, let's level up our habit game.
I'm ready.
These strategies can really help you overcome those obstacles that trip us up.
All right, so we're back and ready for those advanced tactics.
You ready to level up?
Let's do it. I'm curious what kind of ninja strategies we're talking about here.
Well, one technique that I find really helpful is habit stacking.
Habit stacking.
Yeah, it's about using those habits you already have
Okay.
to help you build new ones.
So how does that work?
It's actually pretty simple. You find a habit you already do consistently.
Okay, like brushing my teeth.
Perfect. And then you stack the new habit on top of it.
Okay, so I brush my teeth and then
And then you floss.
I see.
You're using that existing routine as the trigger for the new behavior.
Like my brain's already wired to brush my teeth.
Exactly. So you're just adding a little something extra.
So it's like a domino effect.
That's a great way to put it. You're creating a chain reaction of good habits.
I like it. What else have you got?
Another powerful technique is called implementation intentions.
Implementation intentions? That sounds intense.
It's not as complicated as it sounds. It's just about making a plan.
A plan for my habits.
Exactly. When and where you'll do the habit.
So instead of saying, I'll exercise more, I say,
I'll go to the gym on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 a.m.
yeah, very specific.
It's about removing the decision-making from the equation.
So you don't have to think about it. You just do it.
Precisely. Like
Yep.
setting up an automatic payment.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got habit stacking, implementation, intentions, anything else.
Oh, yeah. We can't forget about accountability.
Having someone to keep us on track.
Exactly. It can be really helpful to have someone holding us responsible.
Clara talked about that guy, Brian Harris.
Oh, yeah, the one who made a habit contract with his wife.
Yeah, if he didn't meet his goals, he had to do all this embarrassing stuff.
It's a great example of how powerful accountability can be.
And it doesn't have to be that crazy.
No, it could be as simple as finding a workout buddy.
Or joining a group.
Even just telling people your goals.
That's true when you say it out loud.
It makes it more real.
You're more likely to stick with it.
Exactly. It's like having a cheerleader in your corner.
This has been such a great deep dive.
We've covered so much.
All about those tiny changes that can lead to big results.
Atomic habits.
Exactly. We talked about systems over goals.
The 4 laws of behavior change.
Those were good. Make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying.
And all those advanced tactics.
Habit stacking, implementation, intentions, accountability, finding your strengths.
Even embracing boredom.
And the role of environment. Our genes, self-awareness.
It's all connected.
It's a lot to take in, but I feel like I have a much better understanding now.
Me too. It's amazing how much power we have over our habits.
And how our habits shape our lives.
Exactly. But remember, you don't have to do everything at once.
Start small.
Pick 1 or 2 things that resonate with you and experiment.
See what works.
And adjust as you go.
Find what works best for you.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought.
Okay.
What's one tiny habit you can start today?
That could have a big impact on your life.
If you stick with it over time.
It's a powerful question.
It is. And remember, start small, be patient, and celebrate those wins.
You got this.
You have the power to shape your habits, and your habits have the power to shape your life.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Stay curious, keep diving deep, and we'll catch you on the next one.